Today we are talking about Hoyas. What is up, my planting people? My name is Lithius and welcome to Roots Ready. We are now in the height of Hoya growth. It is the summertime, the sun is out, the days are longer, and my Hoyas are definitely, absolutely loving life. And in today's video, I am going to be showing you my entire Hoya collection and show you how they are enjoying the summer. And we're going to start it right here. Look at this. This is the crowd favorite, my Hoya Krinkle 8. I showed this in my last favorites video that it had a couple of peduncles. But the reason I'm showing it is because, boom, here we go. The flowers are in. Look at that. Some of them have already dropped, to be fair. And to be honest, this is the reason why I chose to do this video today, because Hoya flowers, they come in and they are spectacular. They are showstoppers. They are amazing to look at, but they don't last very long. After a couple of weeks, maybe a week or two, I find that these flowers start to drop off. And when they come in with style. Look at that. They come in almost like a little softball or a little tennis ball. And it is very aromatic. It has quite a strong smell, especially in the evening times. This is when this Hoya tends to really start to pump out those juices, those fragrances. For me, personally, I'm not a fan of the smell of this. It smells a little bit like... It's to me, it's not a pleasant smell. It's a bit pungent. It smells a little bit like a mixture of a licorice, black licorice, and cow dung. If you've ever smelled cow dung on a hot day, if you've ever gone past the farm, that's the sort of the vibe I'm getting on. Oof, just touched my nose. My God, I'm gonna be smelling that all day now. But yeah, this is the Hoya Krinkle 8. I love it because of how it cascades down. I've got it on a little hanging pot, and it's just wonderful. Just look at it. Amazing leaves. Some of the leaves are very textured, sort of bumpy, and I guess that's why you get the Krinkle 8. In the name, but some of them, like this one over here, has a bit of splashing, and who doesn't love a bit of Hoya splashing? It is an absolutely phenomenal plant, absolutely, a reliable grower. It doesn't require loads of water like most Hoyas. You water this when dry and it will love you for it. Also got a lot of new growth at the top over here, so hopefully we're gonna have a couple more vines that can vine down, and yeah, it's just going to make this plant a lot more full and vibrant, and yeah, just even more stunning, really. I would love to get this in my bathroom, actually. I think that would make for quite a cool plant in there. I think it'll appreciate the humidity. It doesn't need it, but why not? It's been giving me so much, why not give it something back? But that's it. This is the Hoya Krinkle 8. Next up is the Hoya Latifolia. And this plant was on my wish list for actually a long time. And the reason it was on my list is because the leaves can get quite large, almost dinner size type of plates. And it's just got really cool veination on it, and backdropped against a little bit of that sort of variegation as well, that silver splashing. So I've had this plant for a little while, maybe coming up to about 3 months now, so maybe even more. I'll double check, but it's been a while, and I just thought this plant was just going to remain as a leaf and nothing else. It came unrooted to me, so I potted it up in some chunky soil mix, and I just left it, and it did nothing. I guess it was the winter sort of months, so the plant was in its dormancy. But then in the last couple of weeks, I kid you not, maybe in like the last month or so, the plant has absolutely shot up. Look at the length of that tendril. And we've got some new leaves emerging. Look at that. Some little ones over there. There are little signs of a few budding over here, if my camera will focus, and it won't, but that's all right. And then at the top here, it's very it's very sticky. Lots of I guess this is like the nectar that the plant produces. I've got this plant up against my east facing window, and it seems to be doing really well. I haven't tried to grow this one in leca. Most of my Hoyas, I should say, are in a semi-hydro system. Most in leca actually, and a handful in pond. But this is one of 3 that are in soil. So the Krinkle 8 before this, and now this one. So I'm really excited to see how this plant gets along, how it keeps on growing. I need to sort of manage this tendril a little bit, because it can get quite lopsided already. It wants to tip over, but that's it just for now. I'm so glad that it's growing in, that it's coming in nicely. I hope that these leaves are larger than the last, because who doesn't love large Hoya leaves? I don't know. But anyway, there we have it. Hoya Latifolia, an absolute stunner. Next up is the Hoya Villosa, and guys, look at this. When I got this plant, it had this leaf on it. Yeah, lovely, nice and manageable size. It had this leaf, I believe, and this one. I don't think it actually had this one. No, this grew in my care. So it only had these 2 leaves, and I thought, okay, this is sort of the size, the ballpark that we're playing in, and I was quite happy with that. And then this one came out, it was a little bit smaller. Obviously, it needed to be rooted and all sorts, and I said, okay, fine, that's all right. And then it threw out this monster of a leaf. Look at that. This must be about maybe 15 to 20 centimeters, if my measurements are correct. But it's so large. I was so surprised. I couldn't believe that it grew so large. And I didn't know that the edges get quite sort of wavy. Can you see that in the camera? I don't know if it's the conditions that I'm growing it in, but it looks great. It's fuzzy. Look at the fuzz on the back of that. It's just an absolute stunner. I have this plant growing in my mini greenhouse, with sort of regulated humidity levels. To be fair, the humidity levels aren't much higher than what it is outside of my greenhouse, because I've got like a fan in there circulating the air. I don't want any sort of damp issues. But for whatever reason, it seems to really like that. It's there's a grow light there, dedicated grow light, so that's doing really well. And it's just, it just threw out this leaf, and it's got some more coming in. It's got another one there, so we'll see what happens. But this plant has been, it's been a reliable grower. I've got this one growing in pond, in a little sort of semi-hydro setup, and I just water it whenever the pond, the reservoir dries up. I put a little bit of fertilizer in there, and Bob's your uncle. It just does its thing. And summer, I hope that it is a good period for this plant, and I hope it starts to really grow and really take on some length, because why not? Look at those leaves. Woo! Oh, I'm so excited about this plant, guys, and I can't wait to see what it does next. The Hoya Villosa. I find that most Hoyas are really easy to grow, and it's a great place to start if you're looking for an eye-catching house plant. All apart from this one right here, which is the Hoya Meredithii. Now, this was a plant, again, was on my wish list last year in 2021. And I was really excited to find one. It was quite difficult, actually. It's a little bit rare. You sort of have to have your eye out. For me, I have a notification set up on my email account for whenever someone posts it, and then boom, it came up, and I decided to buy this plant. I got it as a 1 leaf cutting. There was a huge leaf on there, sort of a little bit bigger than the previous Hoya's leaf. And I was excited for this plant to grow and to keep producing those huge leaves. The first leaf that it produced was this one. The mother leaf is now gone, and then it started to produce little leaves at the bottom, at the base here. And then this plant came down with mealybugs, root mealybugs to be specific. And I decided to treat it. I pulled it out of the pond, washed off all of the mealybugs, soaked it in a diluted washing detergent, hydrogen peroxide, water, and I just really sort of just let it soak. The plant didn't seem to like that. I think it definitely got rid of the mealybugs, but it aborted the 2 leaves that were growing. So I've had this plant for a long time. I think maybe about 6 months, half a year, and I've only had this leaf grow in that time and nothing else. So this plant, I find is quite difficult. Maybe it doesn't particularly enjoy the semi-hydro life. So I might explore taking it out of here and putting it into soil. It might really like that. But that just, you know, I know Hoyas are really susceptible to mealybugs, and it's so much easier to deal with it when it's just in pond, because it's just easy, you know, shake it off, all of the rocks fall off and you can wash it off and start again. When it's in soil, it's a little bit more difficult. So that's my reason, that's my reservations for you know, keeping it in here for a little while longer. But luckily we've got some signs of growth just here at the base, just a couple of nubs that are growing in. I'm not going to disturb it, I'm just going to let it do its thing in the hopes that we can get a couple more leaves on this one, because I would really love to have just huge Hoya leaves, because most of mine are quite, you know, quite modest sizes, and this one is supposed to be the Hoya. When you're talking about Hoyas with large leaves, it is the Meredithii, but unfortunately, I'm struggling a little bit with this one for whatever reason. But still, I'm excited to see where it goes. Hopefully, this summer is the summer for it, where it can start to really come into its own and grow and develop. So we'll see how we get on. This is the Hoya Meredithii. On the topic of large leaves, this plant takes first place. This is the Hoya CV Jennifer, guys. The leaves on this thing is just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Just look at that. This plant wasn't something I saw and I was instantly drawn to. I saw it and it's like, it's a little bit different. You know, the veins are quite interesting to look at. Almost has the mosaic effect. Not mosaic virus, I'll tell you that. But it's really sort of interesting. The shape is, you know, long, and it's different to a lot of the other Hoyas that I have. But I was really pleasantly surprised when I got it in and it had these massive leaves on it. And I was like, okay, I see you, Jennifer. I see what you're dealing with, what you're showing me. And it's been a great grower, to be fair. It's got two tendrils. One is wrapped around this makeshift trellis that I made over here with a hanger, a zinc hanger. I'll do a video about how to make this really cheaply, really easily. But it's got one tendril that I wrapped up around here, and it was growing a lot, like quite consistently. There's a couple of leaves that started growing and I accidentally knocked them off. And I was really excited for this to sort of continue the growth. But instead, the plant said, I have other plans, basically, and threw out a whole other tendrils. I'm just going to let it do what it needs to do for a while. And then when a couple of leaves come in, then I'll try to wrap it back around here and then let it do what it's doing again. But an exciting thing about this plant, I don't know what's going on with this leaf. It was really close to the grow light, and I think it's just burnt itself. But anyway, as I was saying, an exciting thing about this plant is here. We have a peduncle right here. Oh! I'm not sure what the flowers look like on this. I'm going to have to research it after this video. But I'm very excited to see how we get on with this and see if we're able to get some flowers, especially this year, what it smells like. Hopefully, it's an improvement on the Krinkle 8, because God knows I'm not a fan of the smell of that one. But let's hope this one is a lot more pleasant. And all of these Hoyas are in my room, actually. So, yeah, I don't want to be around that smell if it's not very nice. I might have to kick it out. But yeah, it's exciting, right? Look at this. My first peduncle on the Hoya Jennifer. I'm so excited. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this plant develops, if I can get even larger leaves than this one. Yeah, so I'm really, really excited. Another one in Leca as well. Seems to be really enjoying it. No complaints, I hope. So there we go, the Hoya CV Jennifer. Another one of my favorite Hoyas, probably my top 3, is this one right here. This is the Hoya Finlaysonii. Can you tell why I love it? Can you tell? Look at these leaves. They are actually unreal. Look at the texture. Look at the veins, the light splashing, the dark veins against that sort of that lighter lime green leaf. Oh, what's not to love? What is not to love? I was hoping that this plant would remain quite bushy, but as you can see, as it's grown, these tendrils, it's decided otherwise. We've got a tendril over here with a couple more new growths. Oh my days, look at that. Ah, I'm so excited. As I said, this is one of my favorite Hoyas. This was also featured in a wishlist video. It might have been 2021. I will have to check that, but it was on there because of just the look of these leaves. They're just picturesque, to be fair. They're really gorgeous, just really interesting to look at. It has a slight fuzz on it. I don't find it's a terribly difficult Hoya to look after. It's actually quite easy. You just have to sort of make sure that it's watered when it needs to be watered, it's fed when it needs to be fed, and it just does its thing. Like, I can't tell you, I can't predict when the next leaf is going to come out, and I think that's the sort of the same tune with all of these other Hoyas. It's on its own schedule, so I just sort of just do what I need to do, and I let the plant take its time to do whatever it wants to do. Because when it's slow, but then when it starts pushing, it starts pushing. Again, this is maybe a month's worth of grow, and look at it, look at it. Look at all that growth. Lovely, lovely. Next up is the Hoya Phuwuaensis, formerly known as the Hoya Phuwuaensis. It is an absolute, again, a real stunner. What I really like about this plant is the way the leaves come in. It's a really thin tendril, and the leaves just sort of teardrop off of the tendrils, and just looks really, really cool. It's a little bit different. The texture on this one's a little bit different. It's a lot firmer, a lot more cardboard-like, but still very pleasant to touch and feel and watch grow in. I will say that this plant is probably, apart from the Meredithii, probably one of the more difficult ones to grow. I haven't quite got the care of this one down to a T yet. I've got it in leca, and I thought it would just do its thing. I think with this one, you need a little bit more care and attention. And you need to be really careful when a new growth is growing in. I had a new growth growing on this old tendril over here, if you can see it. And I literally touched it by accident. I just brushed past it to get to another plant, and it broke off. And it aborted the growth. And I was just like, oh. Now I've got to wait another couple of months before another leaf comes in. And then this one over here, again, this was a tendril that's been here for a long time, had a growth on the end. And again, touched it, and it broke off. So I was really disappointed. I was just like, oh, Lithit, you need to just be a lot more careful. And I don't know if that helped, but I think there's a bit of ramification over here, because we've got one offshoot over here and another over here as well. I'm not going to touch them. I'm going to just leave them as is, because I need some more growth. I need some more leaves on this plant, because this plant is gorgeous. Really simple, really beautiful, sort of minimalistic. If you like that vibe in your home, this is the one for you. I'm telling you, this is gorgeous. It needs, indirect light, not loads of it. I think you can sun stress the leaf a little bit. I haven't tried that yet because I haven't had leaves to sun stress, to be fair. But it's just a really interesting one to grow. I'm really interested to see what the peduncles look like on here. I don't think I have any signs of a peduncle. Maybe that might be a peduncle, or maybe it's just an expired growth point. I'm not sure, but yeah, it'll be really cool to see what that looks like. Okay, boom, story time. This is my Hoya Obavata, right? And this was the first plant I noticed had root mealybugs. Because it's in a glass container, it was in leca, it's remained in leca. I looked and I saw these little white dusty specks across the leca, and I was just like, what is that? I've never had root mealybugs before, not that I knew of. And I decided to take a closer look. I dumped the plant out, loads of mealybugs on the inside, loads of mealybugs on the inside. And I just decided, you know what, this is it. We're going into battle. We're going to fight these. We're taking a full-blown approach to kick these mealybugs out of my house. And I did that. This plant had a couple other growths on it, and I said, you know what, I'm not sure if this plant is going to survive. I've seen other people's videos where they've tried to clean off the Hoyas, and they've just sort of gone downhill after that, and I didn't want to take that risk. So I decided to propagate them into this, right? Obviously, these were all stem cuttings, so I'm hoping that there are no mealybugs in here. It was off the back of me finding mealybugs on this plant that I decided to look at the other ones, and that's how I found the mealybugs in the Meredithii. But I'm not sure if this was the culprit. It can't be, because I bought this as an unrooted cutting, so I don't think it was this. I think the mealybugs must have come from the Hoya Krinkle 8, because it was the only one that I bought in soil. And it had some mealybugs, but I had put some beneficial insects in the soil because I just wanted to control the springtail numbers in there. And I think that those bugs that I used, they work on a whole wide range of soil-borne pests. So when I looked in, it had a few little specklings of mealybugs in there, but not loads. But I think before I put that in there, maybe it had started to spread to the other plants. And I found it in this one first. But yeah, I've cut them up. The cuttings are, speaks for itself. Look at those roots. Got some new growth there. This was actually the top cutting, and it had these tiny leaves. So I'm really surprised to see that they've grown in. I thought they would have bought it. Well, you know, the Meredithii, I definitely kicked those leaves off. But this one kept it. Really strong grower. And it's just kept going. It's a little bit discolored, a little bit misshapen, but I'll take it. I love this plant. All the other cuttings have little growth points on them. There's one there. There's a little one there as well. So I'm really excited about that, to see where this plant goes. I'm gonna have a more bushy plant as well, which is really exciting. The mother plant is still lagging behind because I can't see any signs of growth as of yet, but it's still holding in. Leaves are firm. Roots, there are new roots being developed by the day. So I have hope for this plant anyway. And yeah, hoping one day I can put them all together in one pot and have a really bushy plant, much like the Krinkle 8. But that's it, guys. This is the Hoya Obavata. Oh, look at that. Oh, damn. Have a look at these leaves. Ooh, needle-like, just flowy waterfall leaves. This is the Hoya Linearis. An absolutely gorgeous plant. I've struggled to grow this one. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've tried a couple of different ways to grow this. At first I had it in leca. Didn't seem to take. Roots took a little bit long to develop. So I moved it out, put it into pond, because I thought, you know, there's going to be increased surface area for this plant to sort of grow into. It did all right. It grew a couple of leaves, but a lot more of the other cuttings that I had in here, there were loads of cuttings potted all around here, and all of them have died, and they died whilst being in pond for whatever reason. So I decided, you know what, let me try soil. And I think this was it. This was the one that helped this plant to grow in, to establish itself. And yeah, it's been, look at that. I've only got 3 strands of, like, this whole thing was covered in Linearis cuttings. And literally 2 or 3 survived. And this is where I've got this from. So I'm really excited. I'm really lucky to have all of these, actually, because this plant could have been a goner really soon. And it's been an all right grower. When it starts to grow, it really does start to grow. Just look at that. It's been quite, you know, it's quite an easy one to look after once it's been established. You water the plant when it's dry. Yeah, and it just does its thing. I think I've had a bit of struggle to propagate. I'm going to try again to maybe take some of the cuttings over here, repot it into this pot, and just see if we can get it more bushy, so it just sort of cascades from all angles of this planter. I've had this plant chilling on one of my sort of shelves in my room, just hanging down. It doesn't take center stage, but I think it really should. It's quite an interesting plant to look at. I've seen some really cool examples of this plant in a really full planter, with people just sort of having it hung up somewhere and just cascading. It looks phenomenal. So I'm hoping to replicate that, but it's going to take a while, because I'm going to have to cut and prop until we get that really full pot going. Even if it stays in this size, I don't really mind. I don't really want a huge one. I just want it to stay like this. But yeah, it's been quite a cool one to look after. Quite interesting, quite different to a lot. Yeah, very different to all of the other Hoyas, because none of them have this sort of needle-like leaves. yeah, look out for this one if you see it around. I would recommend it if you can get an established plant. Cuttings I found was a little bit more difficult to root, but you can give it a go if you get some cuttings. You might be like me, where you have the final few, the last standing, and you might be lucky enough, and you might have better results than me. So go for it. This is the Hoya Linearis. Last up on this list is this tiny Hoya Mathilde. It's so small, so it's really cute. To me, it reminds me a lot of the Hoya Obavata, just because of the shape of those sort of round disc shaped leaves, but this is like the mini version basically. It's a really cool plant. I think this is the latest Hoya in my collection. I bought it and I think I bought it with another plant. It wasn't a Hoya, but it was a different plant. The seller was also selling this one. I said, you know what, chuck one in. We'll see how we get on. So I decided to buy this one. I haven't regretted it. It's taken a little while to establish itself. Again, this one's in Leca. But it's been all right. I've got it in my greenhouse. Again, I don't really worry about this one. Maybe I could do some stuff to improve its growth. I found though with this plant that you may need a little bit more humidity than you would with other Hoyas, because I remember when I got this was again unrooted cutting, stuck it in some leca in a little plastic baggie to increase that humidity, and it started growing. It had about 4 or 5 leaves growing in, brand new. Then I popped it out of the bag because, you know, quarantine was over, no signs of pests or anything like that. And I left it out, and I kid you not, all of those new leaves died off. And I think it's because of, it might be just the sudden drop in humidity levels that caused the plant to go into a bit of shock. But I found that it really took a step back. So then I took it and I put it in the greenhouse, and then from then only, it started to grow a lot more steady. So these 3 leaves here, this one, and this one are all new growth. The other ones died off and the plant almost had to start again. So that was a bit of a shame. But yeah, I've got it there. I've got it growing. I'm hoping that it can really, I've seen some really cool examples of really full, bushy Mathildes, and it looks so cool. Although this is all right, you know, it's small. it looks all right, but you know, nothing beats a full bushy plant, you know, because you know it's healthy, you know it's actively growing, and that's what I want. But for now, I'm going to remain content with this one as it is, because I could have easily lost it and I didn't. And this is the latest Hoya in my collection, and I couldn't be happier. And it's also the final one in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, a short tour through my Hoya collection. Let me know what your Hoya deal is if you're a Hoya fan. I wasn't at first. It took me a little while to warm up to them, but I got there in the end. They're really cool. They're great additions to the plant collecting hobby, and they're also a little bit easier to look after than your typical aeroid as well. So if you're looking for easy plant to look after, Hoyas are the way to go. But that was it. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep planting.